In this video, we're going to show how to change a tilt servo in your full motion talking skull. The first thing you're going to do is take your Servo DMX and remove all the servo leads. Then we're going to put that aside. We're going to need it again. And you're going to need a new servo, small Phillips screwdriver, a 332 Allen wrench, a pair of side cutters. First thing you're going to do is you're going to remove the back of the skull, these two screws here, and you're going to remove the back of the skull, like so. Take it right off, pull it right out of the wires, and put that aside. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the two plate mounting screws, one here and one here, so you can take the plate out of the skull. One, two. You're going to open the jaw a little bit, and then you're going to pull the plate out. Put the skull away, off to the side, and now you have your servos and the inside of the skull. So you want to, that's what I just did, I want to move the servos kind of in a parallel position here. You'll see there's a black mark. That's where the rod eye will connect. You always put it where that black mark is. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the rod eye from the screw, from the servo that we want to change. Now these have Loctite on them, they have red Loctite. When you put it back on, you should put a drop of red Loctite. Do not use blue Loctite. It will eat away these ABS bushings that are in here. So what you want to do is you're going to twist it a bit. Keep twisting, 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 twisting till the Loctite comes loose. Don't try to reef it all the way the first time. So just turn it, and then finally it'll come loose, and you'll remove it. And then your screw will hang down. I would just take it off, take the little collar off, and then take the screw right out so it's out of your way. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take these four mounting screws that mount the servo on, and you're going to take those off. Now what you're going to want to do, the servos are marked at the back, what number they are. This is servo that we're taking out is servo number 4. So you're going to go down here, you're going to find lead number 4, like so, which is this one, number 4, and you're going to disconnect it. Just pull it out, and you'll see this says 4 on the connector, and it says 4 on the servo lead. Then you're going to carefully cut off the zip ties, and be very careful not to cut the servo cords. And you cut them all the way up, so that way you can pull out the number 4 servo lead. And you'll see that you just take it out here. Like that. And then you're going to have to cut the 2, or the 1, on this side as well. Cut that off. And you can now pull out the servo lead. Take it all the way out. And then your servo is almost ready to come out. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take out these 4 servo bracket mounts. You're going to take these out. Servo bracket mounting screws. Once they're loose, you can just pop the servo right out. Pop the servo right out. And there you go. So now that the servo's out, we're going to put the plate down for a moment. Then we're going to take the servo DMX and we're going to make sure that the servos are zeroed. Then plug in the servo DMX. Take your new servo, plug it in, you hit up, set, and that servo is now at 0. Now we're going to take off the servo horn and it'll just slide right off. Then you're going to put it on the new servo. You hold the servo like this and you have your black mark, and you want your black mark to be parallel, straight on. So you don't put it like that. You want to put it straight on, and it should slide right on where you want it to be straight. As straight as it can go. I mean, so you might be a tooth off, but as straight as it can go, as straight as it can go. And then put the screw back in. Now that the horn's in the right place, it doesn't matter if you move this or not. It doesn't matter as long as the horn's in the right place and you know that your rod eye has to fit where that mark is. I sometimes have a marker handy as well, just to remark that, make sure your mark is still there on the right hole. So now you're going to take your assembly again. You're going to stick in the servo. You should be able to pop it right in. There you go, pops right in. And then you just tighten down the 4 mounting bracket screws. I didn't even take them right out, I just made sure that they were disconnected, so they just sat in there, so that way they're not rolling all over the floor. There we go, just tighten those screws. You don't have to over tighten them, just snug them down. That's more than good enough. Now, you take we can unplug the servo DMX, get it out of the way. Now you take your shoulder bolt, so in there, and then the shoulder will go in. So the little rounded section goes in onto the rod eye. Then you just line that up to your, put a little drop of red Loctite on there, stick it in. And just snug it down. Do not over tighten it, just snug it down. Then take your 440 by 3/8 screws and tighten the servo back down again. You can put the screws in the servo first before you put the rod eye back on. It's just a matter of preference. It doesn't matter whether you do that first or second. It might be sometimes a little bit easier to put the screws in the servo before the rod eye is on, because it could get in the way when you're putting the screws on the bottom. So now the servo is replaced. So all you have to do now is fish your cable back through. There's a cable tray up here that it goes through. Goes in up through there. Make sure it doesn't get caught around the eye wires. And through the back, and there's a little cable tray grommet here that goes through. I would also take a marker, we take a silver marker, I would mark 4 back on there, just so you know. And then just plug it back into 4. You have to make sure that, in this case it's white to yellow, and then red and black, so just make sure that they go in the right way. And then you'll need some small zip ties, and you just go back along and replace the zip ties kind of down here. You just want to make it nice and neat so everything is neat. You'll also have a wrap that goes around that you have to remove first, and then you're going to put one here. We kind of put it down underneath all the cables. You just tighten it up so you got it down underneath all the cables, so it's nice and neat. And the same on the other side. You take another one, you put it down underneath all the cables. You just tighten it up like so. Then you take your snips and snip off all the excess cable tie. Now that that's done, open your jaw a little bit again. Take the front of your skull. And then you have the troughs in the side that line up with the sides of the plate. And then in the front there's a little nose piece. This little nose piece here fits inside there. So you just slide it in. It goes in quite easy. Then you take your two 440 screws that were in the side there. Put them back in. They're flathead screws. 440 by quarter, I believe. And you put both of those in. And then you take the back of the skull, put all the wires through the bottom. And at the back you have a little indent here, and on the other side that slides onto the plate. So you just take that, slide it on. It goes on very easily. Slides in. Put the two rear skull back screws in that hold the back onto the plate, and they just screw down like so. 1 and 2. And you're all set. And then you just take all your servos wires, plug them back into the Servo DMX. They're all labeled, all numbered, 1 through 5, and the blank one goes into the auxiliary for the eyes. And you've now replaced the tilt servo on a full axis talking skull. This is our new Demon Skull for 2020.